Hello and welcome to Krista So Crafty. My name is Krista and I really appreciate you being here. Today we are working on block 11 of the block of the week. So we only have this one and one more and we're all done. This block is called the Star of Virginia block. And you're going to need some sort of a center square. So I'm going to use this cute little elephant and parrot. Oh, it's so cute. So this is 6.5 inches square. You are going to need 4 3.5 by 6.5 inch rectangles, and I made them to match to kind of coordinate. As well, out of that same color, you're going to need 4 3.5 inch squares. As well, I'm using this kind of white fabric with little flowers on it. You need 8 3.5 inch squares. So let's get started. To begin, we're going to take our 8 3.5 inch squares and we're going to draw a line on the back of each one of these from corner to corner. So just move this stuff out of the way and draw a line right down the center. So we're going to do that with all of these. Now what we need to do, we're going to take one of our 3.5 by 6.5 inch rectangles and we're going to take and put our 3.5 inch on one corner like this. So once you have that laying down on here and you want to make sure that your drawn line is going from your bottom left to your center, we're going to go and we're going to stitch right on that center line. I like to start here in the center and so out to the end. And then once you've done that, you can trim off so that you have 1/4 inch left. And then this will flip over and that will be half of our flying geese. So once we bring this in, get this lined up, what I am going to do is I'm going to put a pin on either side and this will help to hold it in place. And I'm going to sew straight down the center, right on that line. Going to remove my pins. I'm going to get a pair of scissors and I'm going to cut. Now make sure you're cutting on the right side. You need to cut on the side that is away from the green fabric. So about 1/4 inch, like that. And this, I'm going to throw it away. I'm going to flip this over like this and give it a finger press. And now I'm going to bring in another one of our whites and we want our diagonal line to run the opposite way this time. So I'm going to line this all up like that. And I'm going to pin this down. So my diagonal line now is running from the bottom right to the center. And this is how you're going to make your flying geese. And we're going to repeat the same process 4 times. Okay, so make sure that this piece here that we've sewn is pressed. If you want to take it over to the iron, you can, but just make sure it's laying down nice and flat. And again, I'm going to start from the center. Make sure that that's under there and start in the center like so. And I'm going to sew right down the center on that line. Remove those pins, cut away from the center, cut these little threads off too. And then we can open this one up and finger press it. I will take it over to the iron and give it a good press. And there is our flying geese. So we're going to repeat that same process for 3 more times. So we'll have 4 of these in total. Okay, so let's continue doing that. So here's our flying geese. So now I'm going to take them over to the ironing board and press them so that they're really nice and flat. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to press the seams to the outside. I know we normally press to the dark side, but in this case, we want to press to the out. Just gonna give these a really good press. So make sure that they're laying down nicely and then press them down. We want them nice and flat. Press them from the front and from the back. That's wonderful. See how nice and flat that is? So we're going to do the same thing with all of these. Flying geese used to scare me. They just sounded complicated, but they're so not. They're really, really not complicated at all. Just have to make sure that you're paying attention to how you're laying down your outside blocks, okay? So these are all nice and neat. We will take them over and we can start assembling our block. All right, so now we have all the pieces for our block. The other day, I made myself a design board. So I'm going to use that today. Now, if you like, I can put the video link up here if you want to see how I made this. So to begin with, we need to put our 6.5 inch square in the middle. And then we're going to take our flying geese and we're going to put them like this so that the points are going towards the outside, like this. Now, if I wanted, I could have cut this out a little differently. I could have cut these out of the dark and these out of the light, as well as these. But you know what? I like it like this. It's kind of focuses your eye on the middle design. So then these 3.5 inch blocks, they just go on the outside to complete our block, just like that. Now I can take this over to my sewing machine, which is right here. I'm going to start by doing the bottom row. So I'm going to bring this one over and I'm going to put a pin in this corner and a pin in this corner. While I'm here, I'm also going to flip this one over and pin it in place as well. And I'm going to do that for all three. What this allows me to do is when I get to the sewing machine, I can take and I can stitch down this side using my 1/4 inch with a 2.4 stitch length. And then I can right away turn it and stitch here. Then when I bring it back to my design board, I can just lay it down the correct way and then move on to the next one and then move on to the next one. So I'm going to continue and do this so that I have these all pinned together on both sides. Change my needle position and my stitch length to 2.4. Line this all up. And away we go. So now that they're both sewn, I'm going to put this over on my design board and I'm going to continue on. Bring this over here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of these over to the ironing board and I'm going to give them a good press. I am going to take and press the top and the bottom to the outside and I'm going to press these seams to the inside. So I just wanted to show you the nice part about the design board is you can bring all of your items over to the ironing board or the cutting board or from here to the table to the sewing desk and not have things go out of place. You can lay them right back down where they belong. So I'll bring in this first one and I'm going to press these seams to the outside. I take my hand and I just kind of pull just gently on this side and I pull it out and then give it a good press. And I do that on both sides and then I can take it and flip it over and press from the front and it's all beautiful. So now we'll bring in this one and we're going to press our seams to the inside. So I like to hold on to the opposite side and put my iron on this side and kind of give it a little tug and then just push this over and then hold it and give it a good press. This makes sure that there's no extra fabric underneath these seams here. So then I will turn it over and do the same thing. Iron down, pull on it a little bit, and then give it a tug, and then press. And then we can flip it over, make sure it's all laying down flat, and give it a good press. Wonderful. And then we have this one, and this one goes to the outside. So let's take it to the sewing machine and start sewing these seams together here. So here we go. Now our next step is I'm going to take this bottom one and I'm going to flip it up and I'm going to pin it in place. So I'm just going to move that over there. I'm going to flip this around so I can hold on to it. Now these seams here we want to match. So what that means is we're going to put them together so that they're nice and close like this. And when they nest, you can feel it. Okay, so, and then I like to put a pin right down that stitch line. And that really helps to hold those seams in place. I'll come back to this one in a second. So this one I'm going to do the same thing, nest those seams, line them all up nice, and then I'm going to put a pin right down the center, like that. Okay, now because we have a 6.5 inch center, there's nothing for this center seam to match up, so I'm just going to put a pin right in the center. And then when we go to do our 1/4 inch stitch, our seam line should come right at that intersection where those two stitch lines are. So then I'm going to put a pin in here as well. And then I'm going to turn this over and I'm going to bring this one in and I'm going to make sure that it's the correct orientation. And I'm going to fold this over and I'm going to pin this in place as well. And a pin over here. And now we can take this over to the sewing machine and stitch this down and our block will be all done. It's a beautiful block, but it is fairly easy. Bring in my pin container and we can stitch this down. My needle is right here and that stitch line where they're joining is right here. So my goal is to stitch right on that center, just like so. Well, I guess I forgot to put a pin in that one. Oh, that's okay. I'll hold it down with my fingers. And I'll spin it around and do the same thing on this side. And there's our block. Let's measure it up. It is 12.5. Perfect. It's so cute. The Virginia Star block was so much fun to make. It is easy. I think it's just a fun block to make, and it would be an adorable baby block if you had, you know, all this different type of center blocks. You know, you had elephants and tigers and parrots and giraffes and orangutans, whatever. If you had those as your center blocks, it'd be so cute with all of this. And then you could border this out even. So you could put like a 1-inch border around each one of these blocks and then join them together. And it would just make an adorable, adorable little quilt. I really hope you enjoyed this block today, the Virginia Star block. And I hope you enjoyed this block 11 of the block of the week. Thank you again for joining me, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing to my channel, and click on that little bell to receive notification every time I upload a new video. Thank you again, and happy crafting.